We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
with global pals. It's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone. We want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Harbinger Theatre. They have a production of Stephen Adly Guirgis' Pulitzer Prize-winning play Between Riverside and Crazy, performing from July 18th to July 27th at Albany Civic Theater. Between Riverside and Crazy tells the story of Walter Pops Washington, an ex-cop and recent widower who, with his recently paroled son Junior, struggled to hold on to one of the last rent-stabilized apartments on Riverside Drive. The old days seem to be dead and gone for the two as old wounds are opened, sketchy new house guests turn up, and a final ultimatum is delivered. Tickets are only $15. And now, back to the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about...
Everything Theater. Hi there, I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And one of these days, we're just going to play with your mind and go, we're not going to talk about theater today. We're going to talk about sandlots or something like that, right? Just ridiculous. So listen, people say, so how do you decide who to interview? Well, sometimes it falls in your lap and sometimes we just show up someplace. And that's what happened here. We're delighted to be talking with Michael Pizzi today, the founder and artistic producing director of the Sandhills Repertory Theatre, musical theater. Let me just put it this way. Michael's career in musical theater, producing, performing, goes on. It's the size of Washington Park. Michael,
oh, you're kind. You're kind.
And I saw something online and then went and attended. Michael has started producing cabaret locally, would be the best way to put it. And it's now with MPZ for Michael Pizzi Productions. Jewish Journey Through Broadway Part 2, the composers from 1980 to 2025 in Great Barrington. And I said to some friends, let's go. And it was a delightful evening, the music that we're all so familiar with. And I reached out to Michael and he said, look, say hello when you're there. Well, Michael, this is what hello turns into.
Yeah, I gathered, and I'm so grateful that you said, "Hey, let's do an interview." I think it's great.
Good.
Yeah.
You've had two shows. You've got a Rodgers and Hammerstein coming up in August. Give us all a sense of how did you go from one thing to this thing, and why now?
How do I go from? Well, I started like you said. I started a small theater company in North Carolina, Pinehurst, North Carolina, about 7 or 8 years ago, and I had a home there for a while. And before I really settled in there, I looked around to see if there was any professional theater or semi-professional theater, and there wasn't much of anything down there.
Let's go.
As a musical theater guy, I'm like, well, I can't not have musical theater. So I started inviting some Broadway friends down, and the audience loved it. And we started to build a really wonderful audience from there. So what I do is I bring some Broadway folks down and I create shows. The shows they're not musicals, but they're musical concerts. And some are more theatrical than others. Some are just concerts. And because I have a home here in Pittsfield, I said, well, why not do more in the Berkshires? And some friends of mine thought I was a little crazy because they're like, the Berkshires, there's so much going on in the Berkshires. What are you, crazy? I'm like, well, I do other things that the theater companies don't do. I do these wonderful musical theater concerts celebrating all of these composers and songwriters. And the other thing that I'm really proud of doing is actually donating a percentage of our net profits to the local food banks. And I don't think any other theater company is doing that. So it sort of makes us a little unique. And it's a great privilege because I feel that food insecurity is so rampant. And we need, and I love using entertainment as a vehicle to helping the disenfranchised. So why not? So I started doing shows about a couple summers ago. And this year we expanded and did more shows. And I have some ideas for next year that are percolating right now. And I just love doing it, and I love performing, but I also love producing and bringing friends here to experience the beautiful Berkshires.
So are you still performing in Pinehurst?
Oh yeah, yeah. So our next show actually is a lovely little show called Sinatra Garland, which I'll be bringing to the Berkshires next summer. And of course, it features, Frank Sinatra and the lovely John Garland. Whenever we say Garland or Sinatra, we know exactly who we're talking about. And I have this amazing Broadway performer who is going to be the Garland of the Sinatra Garland. So I'm very excited about putting that show together.
We
Yeah,
have a local Garland,
yeah. Well, we don't have a
Laura Roth.
I don't have a local Garland here yet, but if you have some ideas, let me know.
Her name is Laura Roth,
Oh,
and she's been performing Garland for years
uh-huh.
and built like her
My goodness.
and has the costume. So we're going to have to make a meet. And she's delightful. And then does Everything Theater get a credit in the bill if it works out?
Absolutely. It's called a shidduch
I
in
should have,
Yiddish.
but for those who, that's the Yiddish word for a marriage.
Right.
Wonderful.
Now, do you have a company of actors or do you audition for every show?
No, I actually I ask around my friends, and I'm like, this is the show that I'm creating. Do you know anybody that sings and plays guitar? Do you know anybody that is a more of a soprano than a mezzo? Do you know tenors? So I look for people like that. In the past, I've actually been very fortunate to find some lovely and wonderful people who are both singers and tap dancers. And we put together a wonderful Gershwin show that included tap in and vocals. And it was really, really an excellent show. People loved it. And so I'm hoping to bring that up here as well.
And how did you, I mean, I thought the night that we attended was pretty well attended. You were doing it at the St. James Place. It's a church on Main Street in
Right.
Great Barrington. Quite lovely. Are you finding people embracing what you're bringing?
Yes. This summer, it's really strange. I'm going to be really honest. There are lots of theater companies offering lots of discounts. And I'm just wondering if there are fewer people attending theater this summer, possibly because of the fear of the economy, to be frank, disposable income. So it's really interesting. I had to actually cancel a show because the ticket sales were just terrible, which surprised me. So I do hope that people come to our Rodgers and Hammerstein show, which is August 23rd. Two shows, and it's at the BCC Boland Theater. So BCC is Berkshire Community College, in case people didn't know that. Yeah.
It's
And
an
and
easy drive, yeah.
and starring two lovely Broadway performers, Marissa McGowan and Ed Watts. So
What would we have seen them in?
um, let's see. Ed did encores, and he did a a Carolee Carmello show. I forgot the name of that.
All right, we're going to jump in for a second. Carol Lee is a local.
Carolee is a local?
Carol Lee she went to Albany High. I had the good fortune to sing in a fundraiser with her forever ago. I may have still been a brunette. We won't go there. For the Cohoes Music Hall. It was right before she really took off. And yeah, and we've had her on as a guest. So
Oh my gosh.
delightful. We love Carol Lee.
Let's bring her back.
Okay, let's make another shit up.
Should
See, you see
have?
what's going on. And we should point out that BCC is in Pittsfield. So from the capital region over, that's a breeze. A lot of folks will go over to Pittsfield to go see, to go to Barrington Stage. It's an easy ride, lots of places to go have a bite before or after. So no excuse not to make the drive
Exactly.
over.
And you know what? It's only a hop, skip, and a jump over that invisible line from Great Barrington to Pittsfield, too.
See, there you go. What else do you have planned besides the Rodgers and Hammerstein
Yeah,
song?
so I actually am venturing into the fall, and I'm bringing a man who's been here a couple times already, and he's doing Johnny Cash show. And it should be incredible because he also has a four-piece band, all of whom are locals. So that's going to be exciting. That's October 4th at the Stationery Factory, and tickets are now on sale.
When you say locals, locals to Pittsfield?
Yeah, locals to the Berkshires. Yeah, all Berkshire musicians. And Scott is incredible. He's played the role of Johnny Cash over 1,500 times in a number of Million Dollar Quartets. He was on the first national tour of Million Dollar Quartet, and since then he's established himself as the go-to Johnny Cash.
What's his name?
Scott Moreau, Moreau. Scott and I actually did the Dutch Apple Dinner Theater production of 1776 in the year 2004 or 5, I think. And he was a wonderful Dickinson. And I remembered him, and I saw on Facebook one day that he had this Johnny Cash show. And so I wrote to him and I said, "Hey, Scott, I don't know if you remember me, but I'd love to have you do Johnny Cash in North Carolina." And he was a sold out smash hit. And so I brought him to the Berkshires a couple of years ago, and now he's coming back.
I'm going to try to check as we're talking. We had a Million Dollar Quartet at Capitol Repertory Theater.
Right.
What, 2 years ago?
Yeah, two, three, somewhere in
I'm,
there. Yeah.
I'm
I don't know if
wondering.
he did Capitol Rep or not, but
I wonder. Yeah, I mean, we've done it at Cahoe's Music Hall, but he was not um, the Johnny Cash there.
no.
Yeah, but it's wonderful. It's this beautiful small world.
Oh, it really is. It really is.
And he does Neil Diamond too.
And we did a Neil Diamond show here a couple months ago at the Stationery Factory. Did you miss that show?
Yes,
How did you miss that show?
I don't know.
There are posters everywhere, and you need to get on my email list.
We all do. We're going to make sure everybody knows that. But sometimes, Michael, as you well know, we miss what's going on in terms of attending because we're performing.
That could be.
Right now we're booking. If you folks don't know what time we do this stuff, we're doing it midday because Ellen right now is performing. She's Aunt Eller in Playhouse Stage Company's
Okay.
Oklahoma.
Oh, very good. Well, Ellen, please invite your whole Oklahoma cast to get tickets to Rodgers and Hammerstein, would you?
I will absolutely do that. And I was wondering about it because our wonderful music director, Brian Axford, always throughout the rehearsal process kept looking at me and being like, all this music is so good. He said, there's just not a bad song in this whole show. Just the music is so good and it stands the test of time. So what are some of your selections? What did you deem some of the best to pick for this cabaret?
Let me tell you, that was the hardest thing in the world. Just like Jewish Broadway 1 and 2, how do you select somebody's, for example, how do you select Stephen Schwartz's best two or three numbers out of like 20 amazing shows? So it's really hard. And Rodgers and Hammerstein, the way I constructed the show was we do some narration about each of their shows, and we go through all of their shows, and there are songs from most of their shows. There were a couple shows, believe it or not, that were flops.
Mm.
So so we just chose ones that I'm pretty diplomatic about choosing songs too. Like I'll get my performers and then I'll say, "What songs have you always wanted to sing? Here's the theme, Rodgers and Hammerstein, go." And so they also chime in on what songs they would love to do as well. And I have a musical director, John Fisher from New York City, who's incredible. And we made some arrangements that are beautiful harmonies that you wouldn't hear anywhere else.
Mm.
So, of course, we're doing The Sound of Music. Of course, so from Oklahoma, we're doing Will Parker and Ado Annie's "With Me, It's All or Nothing." That one. We have a little Oklahoma in there in a medley, of course. We have to use that. And so we have some beautiful songs from The King and I, from South Pacific, and the soprano Marissa and Ed, who's more of a baritone. They sing these songs so beautifully. You would think that they did those roles before. It's gonna be incredible. Yeah.
Your music director, John, is phenomenal. He's also married to the female performer you had in your last show, Kelly
Um,
Rafferty.
that they're not married,
They
but
just go together.
they're great. They're romantic partners.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it. But
yeah.
because I think you said they were partners.
They
My
were.
error.
Yeah.
But she's not going to be in your next show.
She's not going to be in my next show. Right. She's busy doing a lot of other things.
Phenomenal voice. And then you had a fellow, Brett Bowles, which really, what surprised us is his write-up is more as a composer and lyricist and
Yeah.
book writer. I mean, the people who perform for you they're, 360 talented
Oh
and
my
he
God.
had a great voice.
Brett is amazing. I first met Brett about 10 years ago when I created a project called the Well Songs Project. My other life was, and sort of still is, that of being an occupational therapist. And I had this idea for a project where I would interview children with autism and their families, and then have a composer come along with me, listen to their story, and then write a song about and for them. And so I have about 15 songs. And Brett was one of the first composers who said, "Yes, I'd love to do that." And we recorded them in a studio and have a CD of all the songs. And it's called the Well Songs Project, sort of wellness and musical theater all combined. And these kids and families were just so amazing to work with and listen to their stories. It's truly heartwarming and touching. And that's the other thing that I love to do is have projects like that where it's disability based, but it's really about love and happiness and joy. And so these songs are not like depressing songs. That was one of my caveats when I asked these composers to help me write these songs, because I'm like, what I don't want is that, oh, poor such and blah, 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 and their life is like, no, it's all about who they are as people. And that's the point of the whole project, is that we miss that people with disabilities are actually human beings who are just different from us. And the struggles the families go through, people need to appreciate that more. We often forget about the families. And that was a big part of my practice, as well as working with families and family interventions.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of having another career alongside theater and doing that kind of work, I teach at UAlbany, and in the fall, I'm going to be working at Russell Sage as well. And a lot of the students that have to take my acting class are not acting majors, right? They are teachers and so forth, that they're required to take acting one. And a lot of times people think, well, why? Why do we have to take an acting class? So, can you talk to us a little bit about how you find the arts, especially theater, impacts people in all different occupations?
Oh, yeah, well, that's easy. Like when you're a performer, as you probably know, Ellen, it's there's a different kind of, this is my personal opinion, there's a different kind of feeling and empathy for other people, especially people with disabilities, because as an actor, you're supposed to get into the character of, and there's a feeling that you have to um, uh, act with, if you will. You have to become that person. And so what I try to do when I'm treating patients is actually um, feel who they are and what they go through and their trials and tribulations, their mental health, their physical health, their social health, and how it's all impacted by their disability. And it helps me, not just as a therapist, help them better, but it helps me also as a performer because when I'm singing a lyric, I sort of get the song through really understanding the lyric. And so to me, it's all a part of art. Occupational therapy is known for being the art and science of healthcare because we include art and we have a huge scientific background. People say, "Oh, aren't you like physical therapists?" I'm like, no, we're not anything like a physical therapist. We help people with their daily lives or their occupations. I always define occupation for people. People think, oh, it's your work. No, it's the work of living, actually. Occupation or is how we occupy our time with important and meaningful things. And so that's what occupations are for people, not just their work. So it's very satisfying to have people re-engage, if you will, in their occupations. And being an artist really helps me to help them in a different way. That's all. When I was a novice therapist, but when I was 22 years old, I worked in a nursing home, and the nurses used to just not like, fake, not like that I came in at 7 o'clock in the morning singing. And I would sing with my patients, and especially with people with dementia, believe it or not, people with dementia, they remember their songs
Yeah.
from their youth, and it really helps them in very different ways, on a deep physiologic and neurologic basis. And the nurse is like, "Oh, Michael, why are you so happy at 7 o'clock in the morning?" I said, "Because I woke up." I also used to bring them donuts, so that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but did that answer your question, Ellen?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, in terms of especially the, as you said, the empathy, and I've certainly taken on roles that made me think a certain way and understand people that as Ellen, struggle to understand why people think that way. And then when I have to play a role, I go, oh, I can see, actually a little bit of Aunt Eller in all honesty. I'm like, oh, I can see why she makes some of these choices. It's not the choice I would make, but
Exactly. Oh, and by the way, Russell Sage has a great occupational therapy program.
oh, excellent. Yeah.
I'm a
Uh,
trustee, so how's that for a full
are you
circle?
kidding? Oh my gosh. That's great.
Yeah. So we make a plug all the way around.
Holy cow, Russell Sage, go.
I'll have to let them know, everybody. See, you've got to listen to my podcast now because we're giving a shout out.
A shout out to Russell Sage. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And of course, they have a wonderful theater program there.
Hmm.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. That's
Yeah.
great.
Michael, you might have to.
Everybody has to take acting one.
I mean, not everyone, but certain occupations, as unlike UAlbany, where it's an elective and non-majors can choose to take it. At Russell Sage, there are certain majors that have to take acting one. I think
Oh,
teachers are one. I can't remember some of the. I'll
When
I'll
did
find out this
nurses,
fall.
because the nursing program is huge there
Nursing.
too.
Hmm.
Oh,
And they're just beginning to partner with Pharmacy College.
aha.
So there's a lot going on. Michael, you got to come to Albany. You got to
That's
bring your
great.
act
Well,
to Albany.
well, hey, Russell Sage OT program, I think you should have all of your students take acting one.
See?
There we go.
Absolutely.
Pass it on.
Absolutely.
Michael, I'm wondering, the country's so split. Do you find what appeals in North Carolina is different than what appeals to audiences in the Northeast, or is music, music, music?
Yeah, it transcends politics. That is absolutely for sure. Um, the joke in the theater world is that the Democrats perform and the Republicans pay and are the audience, which I would disagree with. But it's sort of like, almost as if the Democrats couldn't afford to pay prices that are now ridiculous on Broadway and and fund things. Well, Democrats do fund a lot of things, and it is more of a democratic profession, if you will. But we need to put those politics aside in the arts. Absolutely. Unfortunately, the arts are being cut left and right. And unfortunately, in schools and colleges, the arts are for some of the first to go because they don't feel like they're worthy or they're academic enough. And it's like I always tell people, imagine if there was a world with no arts. Imagine if all of the artists for 1 week went on strike. Who would you watch on TV? Who would make your movies? Who would be your celebrities? Who would what would Broadway be like? I mean, the arts bring in money to different communities. So we need to support the arts in any way that we can, even as audience members, you know?
Yeah, your point's well taken. It goes back to when people say to you, you're going to the Berkshires, there's so much theater. Yes, the hills are alive with theater in the summer in the Berkshires, and it is a financial driver. You've been to Pittsfield, you see how many still boarded up, storefronts there are.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And I was in Great Barrington the other day and I saw there were boarded up stores there too. And I'm like, what is going on? And I think that we need the arts as an economic driver, as you said, for communities, and people need to attend the arts, whatever. Go to a movie, go to a dance, go to the theater.
And
Um,
I'm,
it's
I,
just so important.
also sticking with the division in the country, has that shaped the songs that you've selected in any way and the narration in any way, or is, again, it's good music, it's good theater, we're doing it.
No, you know what? Theater is storytelling, no matter how you look at it. And it's the stories that you tell that can be very personal to a lot of people. And I make sure with my narration that I am purely objective when I'm talking about certain composers or certain songs, etc. I'll give you an example. There's a show that probably wouldn't sell in the Berkshires. I could be wrong. Maybe I can get both your opinions, but I'm calling it Songs of America, a patriotic salute. It's going to be in North Carolina the end of October. And the two performers, the pianist and singer, are both retired Army colonels or lieutenants or something. One of whom I sang with 35 years ago in Washington, D.C. in the Mikado. So there you have it. And I know Bob is an incredible performer, but there is Fort Bragg, which is right next door to Pinehurst. So tons of military families are in that area. So I think that would do really well in North Carolina. I don't know if a show like that would do really well in the Berkshires. So I don't know.
You
So,
know what,
so
Michael? We'll post that question
pose that
when,
question. Yes.
when we post this. That
Yes.
question about, and what do you think? Let us know. And Ellen, I'm the timekeeper. Oh my God, Ellen, we've been chatting away. You got 5 minutes less.
All
Oh my
right.
gosh.
Yeah. So we do at the end of the episode, we do a quick rapid fire questions about you, Michael, to get you to know you a little bit more personally. This
Uh-huh.
is called the close-up segment. So, Michael, are you ready for your close-up?
I am ready for my close-up, Ms. DeMille.
So, what was the moment in your life when you just knew I have to do theater?
When I was 5 years old and I sang Edelweiss in my Christmas concert,
Why did that make it the moment?
because people loved it.
What's a show that's had a huge impact on you, whether one that you worked on or just experienced growing up?
Into the Woods, Sweeney Todd, anything Stephen Sondheim because of his lyrics that are so profound and deep and emotional and psychological, and I love that kind of stuff, if you will.
Any shows on your bucket list to perform in, direct, be involved with?
Well, I'd love to do Into the Woods again, but I'm too old for the baker, which is the role that I played before. But I could be the narrator. So there's that. I'd love to do Ben Franklin in 1776. I've done that show 3 or 4 times now. So there's that. Let's see. I'd love to play the I think it's grandfather in Guys and Dolls. Velvet, I can wish you for the color of your coat. Um, I love that song, and the role is very fun and funny. Yeah.
Any um any big bloopers on stage you want to share with us? A silly story of something that went awry?
Oh gosh. Well, it didn't go awry for me, but it went awry for the show when we did 1776 at Goodspeed Opera House. We apparently skipped 2 or 3 pages of dialogue. And it happened to be when we were voting on the Constitution. And so we decided, so our thank God our Hancock um, was a very experienced actor, Ellen Rust, who was amazing, just retired from oh my gosh, the Hart School of Music. And he brought us all back by inserting certain dialogue that then we all got back on the same page again. And thank God we had a successful 4th of July. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened? But that was quite the moment. Yeah, that was quite the moment.
And any words of
I'm
advice?
sorry, it wasn't the Constitution, it was the Declaration of Independence. What am I
Oh, there
talking
we go.
about?
No, we're all thinking about Constitution
Yes,
these.
Yeah.
plus I was not a history major, so there you go.
And what would be your number one piece of advice to someone who said, I think I want to pursue a life in theater?
Do it. Know that there are lots of struggles, but there are so many joys, and it can. And the thing that I love is it brings me happiness, but it brings audiences a lot of happiness too. And that's the most special piece. When you're watching an audience as you're singing and they're smiling and they're intent and they're listening and you have them wrapped in your song, it's just such a beautiful moment between that performer and the audience. And I think that is such a reward for anyone who goes into the theater.
And the intimacy of cabaret, having done it, there's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. Whether it's for 10 people, and I have performed for 10 people, or if it's for 300 people. Um, I did a Star Trek convention when I was in, oh my gosh, I was in high school. I think I was 17. and we did a parody of Star Trek using one of the Gilbert and Sullivan shows. And it was for an audience of 5,000 people. And it was unbelievable,
Um,
unbelievable,
that
including
note,
all of the Star Trek stars. They were all there.
Michael Pizzi, mpz-productions.com, the Rogers and Hammerstein Songbooks, the 23rd of August at Berkshire Community College. Go forth, sing, sing, sing. This has been delightful. And everybody, come on, come out, go see them.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a joy.
It was a joy speaking with you. And all of our audience, thank you so much. Catch us next time. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
I'm Benita Zahn. Be well.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.